So what are the qualities of this season, the springtime season? What's the personality of this season? This is a beautiful, because it's an erratic time, it's a rising time, it's a sprout energy, it's new growth energy. It's a beautiful time. It teaches you how to really stay balanced in a time of like hypermobility between yang and between yin. And so at this time, like wood, we're sprouting up and we're growing, but if we're moving towards that place where we're really assertive and firm and upright, this is a beautiful time to really start getting more upright and firm and and audacious, right? But then, like when you're growing, if you just stay firm, wood energy, you're gonna start getting brittle, and so it's a beautiful time for you to notice, like I'm getting a bit rigid here, and then that's when you start bringing a bit of softness to your approach to life and yourself, and you bring that suppleness and that pliability, okay? And so you can start to become more like a piece of bamboo. Wow, so strong. It's so supple. And that's how you really stay grounded when this spring's like full energy moving. That's just how you're gonna stay learning, how you're gonna stay in flow with this season and make sure year after year when you hit spring, you are able to handle these kinds of extremes. When you really do get into that flow, as I said, as a virtuous nature, your spirit can start to really express through the liver energy when you're in flow with what's going on around you and with this time of year. And so the spirit will really be able to express itself, as I said, when you've got those qualities of firmness, uprightness, audaciousness, pliability. So during this time of year, if you're excessively yang and like assertive and firm, and the blood's rushing because of that, you're just so strong, the blood just rushes through, and you don't have any of that pliability in your approach to life, if you don't have that young seedling learning energy that makes you flexible in your approach, then we think like that's me, I get angry, and that's me, that's a quality of me, but no, that's your spirit just expresses itself as anger because it can't flow in your liver chi. And likewise, if you're overly like timid, right? If you're overly pliable and just bending to the will, and you're lacking an ability to be assertive and stand up for yourself and what to be true about you in this instance, it's going to be frustrating for you. And that's why we see that anger and that frustration, that timidness come through at this time of year. And so just remember, that you're trying to make sure that you're getting in tune with the season, just remembering what the quality of this time of year is, so you can remember to get into that step, and then hopefully you can start to bring that explosive anger or that frustration or that timidness, from really it's your spirit expressing itself in that way, because you take a step back and get to the root cause, because you're out of step, you're not in that liver wood energy. This is according to the Daoist theory. And so that's why we use practices and herbs, and you can check out the previous video and other videos of us telling this is what you do at this time of year to try and get in that flow and get in that step. But just get outside and get into nature, and you'll be able to really get back into a flow, and then learn then what does your spirit actually express when you're in tune and in step. And so let's have a look at that. What does that liver energy bring? What are the archetypes of the liver? What qualities come forth? So one of them everyone jumps to, like, it's a creative time of year, and yes, we'll get to the artistry, the artist, that archetype in the liver, but it's also the archetype of a general, this time of year. And so for the general, a lot of us don't like the analogy of it being an army, but think about the role of a general managing an army, managing all this that's going in the body. You've come out of the winter time, you've really tuned into the wisdom, you've dropped in and learnt, and so you've developed wisdom winter after winter. Who am I? How much energy do I have? What do I really, what went wrong and what went right over the last year? You've really reflected. And so when you get to this springtime and the general's got all this reconnaissance and all this information about how many reserves you have, what's actually important in looking back on the years, know what's realistic to have in terms of our goals, not just ungrounded new goals and new audacious things that we expect for ourselves, but very grounded expectations based on what we really have, how many reserves we have, what we have in terms of an army to do it. And so it's a very organized time, and it's a beautiful time for you to write down based on what you have and don't have. And that might be in terms of skills. You know, you might be a time where you feel quite grounded and you go, that's my massive goal, and you had this expectation for you just to go out and do something, but you really realize that I don't have the skill, and now I'm going to lay out the plans to get that skill so I can go and, you know, kick that goal and manifest that into my life. It's a very organized time, but it is also a beautiful time. You know, that yin time is that artistry, that pliability. It's a very creative energy, and there's nothing better than creativity when you have the grounding, so the creativity can fly off, and it can, you know, you can really dream big and dream wild during this time. But it's always nice to know that you're dreaming within a knowing of what's real for you, and so you're in a much better position during this time of year to, in an organized way, make your dreams a reality. And when you're in reality, you realize the level of consistency that needs to be in your lifestyle and in your flow, and you know, in your daily practice, you know, in order for you to manifest something. And so that's what this time of year is about. And if you can get to that flow and have the spirit expressing that way, hopefully year after year after year, and with lots of practice, we can ensure that the spirit isn't frustrated and angry and timid.